What's up, guys? It's Eric from Rock Rentals, just doing a little video for you. Wow, he's moving fast. Okay, so I talked with one of the ordinance enforcers with Forsyth County, and they gave me a little bit of insight about a little bit more insight about the process of violations and liens at the county level. So once again, with the county of Guilford, you're actually able to go online and find out what properties have liens and if there's any violations on the property or anything like that. Now with the county of Forsyth, Winston-Salem, that kind of thing, Kernersville, there's no online portal to find out the properties that have violations. So you can call in to the county assessor's office or the ordinance division, and they can give you that information. Turns out he was actually able to send it to me in an email, in a PDF version. You just have to call in and ask for it, give me an email and that kind of thing, because it is public record, he said. Right, so no charge. That's good. But so my question was, because somebody is presenting me with a property that she's trying to get the tenant evicted, but when I guess probably the tenant is a little bit disgruntled. We talked about this before. The tenant is disgruntled, so I guess when he got served the papers to be evicted, he must have reached out to the county or to the city and said, hey, they're not great landlords, they're not fixing anything or doing anything. And that being said, the city went out and did an assessment of the property, found some violations. So now the property has violations on it. So meanwhile, she calls me back and says, hey, yeah, we'll go ahead and sell it to you. And she kind of mentioned a blurb about there being some violations on it. And I was just like, okay, yeah, getting the property for a pretty good deal, so we'll let it ride. And then I just mentioned to her, like, hey, let's see those violations before we continue to move forward. She sent me a picture, a text message of the violations, which I couldn't see everything, so hence me doing a little bit more digging right about this. And turns out there are several violations on there. Like 3 of them are unfit violations, and some of them, the other ones are just minor violations. So this is how it works. The tenant complains, an assessor goes out and finds out what the violations are. They send a list of violations to the property owner, along with a hearing date, to where they'll do a hearing to just say these are the violations and they need to be fixed and that kind of thing. Well, when the tenant gets served, when the landlord gets served with the papers, then they have from 30 days from that date to fix the violations or get the tenant to move out. If at that 30-day period neither one of those have been satisfied, there's a $350 assessment fee, a civil penalty, if you will. And every day that hasn't been corrected, another $100 fine, right? So that's big. That's big. And it's really important if you have a property like I was trying to get, right, that has a tenant in that's kind of disgruntled, doesn't really want to let you in to do the repairs, but at the same time, he's not really willing to move out. So 30 days to try to make something happen, otherwise you get these fees and these fines. That's big. That's big. I think that was the main thing I was able to come up with to share with you guys about that. Yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll be reaching out to you pretty soon to let you know what we decide to do. I did offer to, make another stab at this property, but it would have to be for less than we initially agreed upon, because yeah, she apparently, and I mean, she wasn't completely withholding information, but she did kind of withhold the fact that the property had been had already been evaluated and assessed these violations. So what can you do? I mean, people want to sell their property. Oh, that was the other thing that that was really important in our conversation, since you don't have public access to see these violations from like your web browser or something like that. So one, you can call in, and then two is that I got him to clarify that there is a lien. There's a lien put on the property, so if you were to do like a title search or something like that, it would come up as a lien from the moment that they put those violations attached to that property. A lien will come up. So my concern was that the lien wouldn't actually show up until that civil penalty 30-day period hit. Because if somebody sold me the property, right, in between that 30 days was reaching its end point, if somebody sold me their property, then I might miss the fact that there's a lien about to be put on it. The fact that I might miss the fact that it's got violations on it, which of course, when you do your due diligence and you do your title search and everything like that, you want those kinds of things to show up. But if they didn't show up, then that'd be really bad for folks trying to get properties and not being able to vet whether or not, you know, they have any issues. So you know, do your due diligence when you're looking to buy properties. So you got the it's a list of them. I've got to pull out the list. So you got to check to make sure the property doesn't have any violations. You got to make sure that the owner doesn't have any liens on them, like IRS liens or tax liens or anything like that. Make sure the property doesn't have any tax liens. You got to look up and see what the value of the property is. You've got to definitely visit the property. Some people don't visit the property before they buy them. You definitely got to visit the property. What else? Oh, the deed, title search, deed. Got to make sure that that's clear. You got to make sure that there's no pending liens on it, first lien, second lien, whatever liens on it. You got to make sure that there are. What was the other thing I was just thinking about? Some cities, like the city of Greensboro, used to, if somebody didn't pay a water bill, that water lien would be attached to the property, not to the owner. So to my understanding, the last 2 or 3 years or so, they started making those water liens attached to the owner, not to the property. So depending on, you know, the area that you're in, the city, municipality, you might need to check that. You know, water liens or utility liens. As far as the deeds, you know, a deed of trust or a warranty deed just says that the property is kind of free and clear in somebody's name. A deed of trust says that you trusted the deed to somebody else while you know, pay them back, or, you know, so if there's a deed of trust out on that, just pretty much like, if, you know, property that my primary residence, when I pay for it, I get a deed, but then immediately in that same transaction, I do a deed of trust to Wells Fargo, so they have ownership in the property, and then, you know, that pretty much is a lien on my property. What else as far as the deed search? Maybe next time when I do like a deed search, I'll just kind of do a video and go over that with you guys while I'm doing it, because it can be a lot of little different pieces to the puzzle there. You got to make sure that the chain of ownership is correct. So when person A bought it from person B, you got to make sure that person B, you know, bought it from person C, and C from D, and all those dates make sense, and there's no gaps in there. If there's a gap in there, you know, then that can mean big trouble. Chain of custody, chain of title, you know, that you may not be able to get a clear title on it. But anyway, so another thing to look at is when you're looking at the property itself, make sure that it, you know, some people don't want it to be in like a flood zone because you have your property insurance costs more, as well as it's harder to sell because, you know, it's a potential to flood. So you may end up having a hard time selling it. All right, so make sure that it's not in a flood zone. And then some people, you know, depending on the area that you're in and that kind of thing, want to make sure whether or not there's any easements or anything on that property, in that yard, whether it's a railroad easement or a school easement or a airport easement, you know, for noise ordinances violations, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, so it's a lot to it, but it's not impossible. You know, if you're kind of fresh getting into it, having a realtor or another investor that knows a bit about this kind of stuff can help you out, work your way through it. Read a lot, right? Read a lot, that helps. Anyway, this video is going on really long and I like to talk, so I could keep doing this. Anyway, talk to y'all later.